All right, as Allison said, I'm Clint Nestor with Nestor Ag. We're going to talk on nutrient management a little bit today. I'll introduce about our company a little bit, talk about why we do what we do, and then what I really want to get into is some examples, some real world examples as to where we're hopefully making a difference in water quality. Just a little bit about me. This is my gang at home, and you can see my son has an Ohio State shirt, so I'm an Ohio State grad, so don't hold that against me. Just a little story. So when my wife and I started dating, my father and my future father-in-law said, that guy looks like Woody. And I said, pretty cool, I guess. I don't really see the resemblance. And he said, no. He goes, the other Woody. So you guys can picture the cowboy as I talk today. A little bit about our company. Started in '92 by my cousin Joe Nestor. And really the reason he started this company was because he saw a need for an independent voice for farmers. So most farmers were getting their fertilizer from the industry, and he felt that we needed a third party, an independent party, to make some of those recommendations. Today, we work on about 200,000 acres in the 3 states. We get up here into mid-Michigan, about to Ida, in that area. We've done some research projects with Ohio State, Michigan State, Nutrient Star, and we really try to get our growers to make data-driven decisions. So we're collecting data. All these farmers are collecting vast amounts of data, so let's use that information to make good decisions. And last there, we use Brookside Labs out of New Bremen, Ohio, and we're part of what we call the Amplify Network. It's a network of independent consultants. So as you can see, that's in red there is the acres that we work on, and obviously most of that falls within the Western Lake Erie Basin. So when the 4R program came out in Ohio, we were the first consultants to jump on that because we wanted to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. We've been very involved in H2 Ohio within the state. Again, just because we feel that's a good program to help with some of these water quality problems. And I say that we're champions because when this happened in 2014, when they shut down Toledo's water, we said we've got to do something about this. So we've been very, very vocal in trying to make a difference in the Western Lake Erie Basin. We're working with the 4 R's, so source, time, place, rate. We want our growers to utilize our nutrients to the best of their ability, and I guess we kind of take a 4-pronged approach in that we're pulling soil tests, we're trying to make the best recommendation that we can, we're building those variable rate control files for them, and then at the end of the year we evaluate those decisions that we made. And you guys have all seen this, but that's really what we're trying to do is make a plan, implement that plan, evaluate the plan, and then obviously make adjustments going forward, and we just keep rolling that from one year to the next. So I guess why are we soil testing? We feel it's a very important part of agriculture. There's a lot of things that we can identify from that soil test. Again, we're trying to make informed decisions, not just kind of shoot from the hip. We're tracking trends. As we make recommendations, are we seeing levels fall or rise? These growers are spending huge amounts of dollars to raise their crops. So I pulled these numbers from Ohio State's budget for 24. So they're looking at, this is total cost, not just fertilizer. This is total cost, but $1,100 an acre for corn and $750 an acre for beans. The soil test drives a whole bunch of those decisions. So it's more than just fertility, but we feel that the soil test is a big part of making those financial decisions. As I said, record keeping. I think as we maybe potentially look at regulations down the road, if I were a farmer, I want to have a good record system to know where I've been, where I'm at, and where I'm going. And then obviously water quality is a big part of that soil test. So I guess I use this as an example. So, obviously these are all chocolates, right? That's not hard to figure out. But I think sometimes to find the good ones from the bad ones, we might need to poke around a little bit and maybe do some sampling. If you're like my kids, you poke and find the peanut butter ones. So obviously, those are all chocolates, but they're all different at the same time. So when we look at a field, obviously it's all soil, but we know that there's differences out there. So when we sample, we use a zone approach, and we could get into grids versus zones and have a whole day-long talk on that. But we use a zone approach, so we really use whatever information that we have. So we've got really good soils information that we can download. We've got LiDAR information that we can download. With drones now, we've got excellent imagery. Again, this was from a drone. We can get thermal imagery now. And then what we really like to use is yield data. So this is 8 years of data all compiled into one. But we kind of joke and say, what better piece of information can we use than putting 32,000 sensors, 32,000 plants out there an acre, and letting the crop tell us where things are going well and where things are not going well. So we develop these zones. We average about probably 6 acres in size, but like I said, that's the blueprint for a lot of things. We're making obviously fertility recommendations, starter fertilizer. I mean, a multitude of things that we're using, seeding rates, hybrid rates. So that's like I said, we're using that information for a lot of different things. So again, zone sampling, we've got to have good data. So when our samplers go out there, we're pretty particular on what we want from them. We've got to be representative, and by representative I mean we want to stay away from maybe where manure was piled. We want to stay away from the side dress band. We want to stay out of the starter band if we can, because everybody knows we put bad data in, we're going to get bad data out. Sample depth. If we take a 4-inch sample versus an 8-inch sample, we're going to get two very different results. Size matters, and by that I mean I think there's still some 20-acre samples, some 25-acre samples, and I think we can do better than that. On the flip side, I know some guys are using 1-acre grids, and I think that's good. It's good that they're sampling 1-acre grids, but at the same time, then they want to live off that sample for 4 years because that's a very expensive way to sample. So we sample every other year, and like I said, average about 6 acres a sample. And we're building a database, so it's when we've got 10 years of history and we get a test that looks out of line a little bit, it's really comfortable being able to look back at the trend and see, did we hit something? Is that an outlier? And what do we need to do there? And I say develop a plan. Now this guy, sometimes you don't always have a plan. So I think we've got to make a good plan and go from there. And like I said, be representative. So we've got 3 very different soils there. If we mix all 3 of those together, now we've got nothing in that. We represent nothing in that field. So I think we've got to do a good job of representing the sample that we're taking. A couple examples here. So I know there's a lot of information on this slide, so I'll kind of walk you through it. Which one's the pointer? There we go. All right, so these are our zones here. This is our soil test levels. The rec that we made, so this is MAP 1152 MAP fertilizer. We range from 0 to 160 pounds of MAP per acre. Roughly about $40 an acre is what we came up with there. So this would be a 2-year spread. I looked at the tri-state, so I did this 2 different ways. So in this column, using the field average, so that would be if we took 4 or 5 samples, did a field average, and we made our application or our rate based on that, we would spread 267 pounds of MAP at a cost of about $106 an acre, or an additional $68 an acre. On the right column here, that would be the tri-state rec based on the soil test level over here. So ranging from 0 up to 594 pounds of MAP. This is a Tri-State Fertility Guide. In my opinion, it is very irresponsible to spread nearly 600 pounds of MAP at one time. But this is what growers are being told that they can do. But I guess, again, we're about $80 an acre difference there. So the question that you have to ask yourself is, all right, well, that's easy to say when you're just making, you're not spreading near as much fertilizer as what these rates are. But we've got data to back it up. We've watched soil test levels. We're not dropping. This field went 240 bushels this year, so I think we're doing okay. And over this guy's acres of about 2,400 acres at a difference of $68, who doesn't want to put $160,000 to the bottom line? This was another example, a large dairy. They grow about 2,000 acres of corn. Their phosphorus levels are at 52 parts per million. They had been running about 8 gallons of 1034O on the planter at about $30 an acre. At 50 parts per million, they don't need any phosphorus. They got all the phosphorus they need in the world. So again, $60,000 difference that they were spending that they don't need to. A quick one on nitrogen, because we know that nitrogen is also tied to phosphorus. So these were some plots that we ran where we looked at the difference between 100 and 150 pounds of N. So if they made money, they fall on the high side. If they lost money, on the low side. So it was about maybe a 60-40 that made money by putting that extra 50 pounds on. Now we look at 150 to 200. That number goes to about 20%. And if we go from 200 to 250, it was about 10% of the plots made money by that extra 50 pounds. So I guess the moral of the story is, I think you better be pretty sure, if you're going to be up there with that 200 plus number, you better be pretty sure that you need it. Quick example on magnesium. So we get really tied up with N, P, and K, but this was an example of some sand ridges where we found a magnesium deficiency, and it was about 25 bushels of corn per acre, so call it $100 an acre. But I think what we got to point out there is that we fertilize these with P and K and N for 200 bushel corn. So, if we're not withdrawing it in the crop, now we've got that laying out there for risk to be lost. So, kind of wrap this up. Adaptive management. The tools are available. There's yield monitors. There's soil test labs abundantly available. They're affordable. It's not expensive to soil test. It's a moving target. There's no silver bullet to make this work. What works for one grower may not work for the other grower. So it's something that you have to prove it on your farm, but keep chasing the target. And with that, I'll wait for questions.